Hello. Welcome to week 12 of the Communicate Responsibly podcast. Today I have a special guest. This is Mick Lovin. I've talked about her in other podcasts, but today it's all about her and a two-letter word that's really important. And that word is no. So what I've learned from Mick Lovin is that sometimes when you say no, the person or dog that you're talking to may not hear it. They may not understand it, and they may not listen to it. But there still are ways that you can let people know that no means no. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I don't think she wants to hear it. So last week we talked about boundaries, and boundaries are really important. You might have the clearest boundaries in the world, but if you're unable to say no in certain situations, do your boundaries even exist? So let's think about this. Boundaries, as we talked about last week, are what's okay and not okay for you. They're a way of protecting your time, your energy, your values, and they're a way of, I would say, strengthening your relationships while at the same time communicating effectively and responsibly with what's okay and what's not okay for you. Saying no is really just an extension of that boundary, but it's communicating the boundary in a way that may not be comfortable for you. It may be awkward. You may feel guilt afterwards. But saying no is a really effective way to let people know what is not working for you or what's uncomfortable for you. So when I thought about this, the reasons that people might have for saying no, like why is it hard? I was thinking for myself, when is the last time that I said no in a situation? For me, it would have been a day or two. It was probably at work. Um, there have been a few times in my personal life as well. But ask yourself that question. When's the last time you said no about something? And how did you feel about it? And when is the last time you struggled to say no about something? And why did you struggle with that? For me, this really became not an issue, but it became something that I needed to get better at. I am still a recovering people pleaser. I have a hard time saying no in my personal life to things. But when I stopped drinking and got into recovery, I had a really hard time telling people that I had stopped that and that I was no longer drinking or was just sober in general. So there's a thing called California sober. It's been around for a long time where you're not drinking, but you might use cannabis, you might use other substances. And just telling somebody, no, I'm not drinking or using other substances, or I'm going to be the sober person, that was really difficult. And for me, that was a reason I pulled away from a lot of relationships. I pulled away from a lot of people because I found that we just didn't have a lot in common once the alcohol or the party scene was taken away. It was interesting when I talk to other people in recovery, and I hear this even till today, that the social pressure around that, around alcohol, or the judgment that people may have, or the fact that it might impact a relationship or you might lose friends would all be reasons why people would struggle to say no, again, to using alcohol or another substance. And for me, when I heard that thing about judgment, it wasn't even so much that I was being judged by my friends, but in some cases, it almost felt like I was judging them because I was the sober guy and they were drinking. And I could do a whole podcast just on that, but I won't. So, other reasons that you might struggle to say no, fill in the blank. What would it be for you? Do you not want to disappoint others? Are you an avoider of conflict? I can certainly identify with that. Do you not want to be seen as selfish or maybe being rude to somebody if you say no? Maybe it's a learned behavior. Again, for me, I am a people pleaser at heart. It is something I continually am going to have to work on. It's something that conditioned you, maybe from your culture, maybe from your family, or maybe from a work environment. Those bled into each other for me. My family and my work environment, growing up in a family business, no simply wasn't, you can't call into a family business. It's very hard to get fired from a family business. So no isn't something that I really was brought up with. And it's important. Here's some things to remember if you're uncomfortable with no or you have some problems saying no. That saying yes when you really wanted to say no is going to cause some resentment in you. I know it does for me. And I've mentioned before, resentment is different than anger. Resentment means re-feeling that emotion. You can play it over and over again. Why did I agree to this? It's important for me to remember that when I say no to someone, it is not a rejection, it is clarity. It's effective communication, right? So if you agree to help someone and then you feel completely overwhelmed or irritated about helping them later, is that responsible? Is that effective? You didn't set the boundary, or maybe you felt the boundary, but you had a hard time communicating it. Responsible communication is what we're talking about. We've been doing it for 12 weeks now. Here are some keywords to drop. What does responsible communication look like? It's honest, it's direct, it's respectful of people, and here's what's key, especially with this two-letter word, it doesn't need to over-explain, and it doesn't need to blame somebody else. No simply means no. So you want to be clear. You don't want to give vague responses. And I was very good at doing this. Oh, maybe. Well, we'll see, right? Rather than just saying no. That kept people stringing along. I've mentioned before that in effective communication, using I is really important. Like, I can't commit to that. I need to say no right now to that. Another thing about respect, you want to be respectful, but just because you're using a kind tone with people doesn't mean you're saying yes. You can level with somebody without leveling them. You can use a kind tone and still say no. Something, again, I'm working on continually. So, another example, instead of saying, boy, I'm really busy, but I guess I could try. I guess I could try. That's not real great direct communication. What I have heard other people say, and I'm trying to model, I'm not able to take that on right now with a period at the end, and it really lets people know that is a no, right? It's more respectful. A clear no is more respectful than a dishonest yes. Something you're going to back away from or cancel at the last minute. That's not going to help your relationships. So here's some more examples if they're useful for you. No, I'm not able to do that. Spells it right out. Another one that might be soft, but lets people know, oh, I really appreciate you asking me if I want to be on that committee or if I want to do that, but I can't commit to that. It's a no. No with no brief context. I've got too much on my plate right now, so I need to say no. I've got two I's in that statement, and it doesn't say anything about the other person, right? Keep it in the I. That doesn't work for me. That's another one. Again, keeping it on the I. And here is one, again, it's not a wishy-washy, but if you're really not sure, if you have to check your schedule, if you think it might be a yes, Let me check and get back to you. However, hopefully you're fast forwarding. If you say that, you need to do it. If it's genuine, say it. Let me check and get back to you, and then check and get back to the person. So hopefully you're getting the idea, some basics of saying no, but it can be harder to say no to things you used to say yes to. And I know for me, again, like even something like drinking, I used to say yes all the time. You used to want to do these things associated with drinking, and now you don't want to do them anymore. So saying no in those cases in a clear, respectful, responsible communication is really important. And since not all of you out there will identify with the drinking thing, I thought of a few other ones. Family, right? Your family wants you to attend every gathering, but you're overwhelmed and you need some downtime. Or maybe it's not every gathering, maybe it's just this one gathering they want you to attend. So here's a way you may say it. I love spending time with everyone, or I love spending time with you. I love when we get together, but I'm not able to make it to fill in the blank, whatever the whatever the event is. I need some time to recharge. That's a no. And if you get some pushback, oh, come on, you'll always be busy, whatever it is, here's another level to kind of reinforce that no. I hear that this is important. I hear what you're saying. I hear it's important. I think it's important. I still need to take time for myself. Just like with Mickey, I will say no sometimes, and she's gonna do it 5 minutes later. So just saying no without repetition or sometimes going deeper isn't going to work. For me, boundaries, especially the ones that require a no answer, you're going to have to repeat that and enforce that, and that may not be comfortable for you. So here's another one. You have a friend or you have a family member, and they always want help from you. They always want something from you. If relationships are a bank account, they're always withdrawing, right, from you. And it's becoming too much, and maybe you're getting resentful. Something you might say is, I want to support you, but I can't keep doing this regularly. I need to scale back, right? I want to support you. I really enjoy our friendship. You're important to me, but I can't keep doing this regularly. I need to scale back on what I'm doing. That's important. Here's another one that I hear a lot. A friend wants to vent to you for hours, but you're emotionally drained. Again, this idea of bank accounts in your friendships, in your every relationship, are your friends, are your family members, are they people that make deposits into that relationship and withdrawals? Or do they make more withdrawals than they do deposits? How many people do you have that you can talk to and vent to? Or are you the person that people usually go and vent to? They're just good questions to ask yourself, and we'll be, as we move forward, looking at that too, owning our part. But with this, the friend who just vents, withdrawal, 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 and you got other stuff going on, start with the I care about you, like we did before, and I don't have the capacity to talk about this right now, tonight. Can we check in at another time? Setting that boundary. If you're already like, oh, I don't know about this, then you might have some work to do. How about an invitation somewhere? A friend invites you out, family member, somebody invites you out, but you're exhausted. You just want to kick back with the remote, some popcorn, whatever it is. I was told that an invite isn't a summons, and I really like that because for people pleasers, it can feel like that. Oh, I really should go. So saying something like that sounds fun, but I'm going to pass tonight. I need a quiet night. You may need to double down. You may need to, let them know, but sticking with that boundary is so important. You have another friend or family member constantly asking for favors, withdrawal, withdrawal, withdrawal from the relationship. I'm not able to help with that this time. No over explaining, no guilt, and no at the same time. So if you're someone that's always been the go-to person, they're just used to you saying yes, this is going to take on a new dynamic to the relationship. Not only is it going to feel a little awkward to you, you may get some what's going on. Your friend, your family member may wonder if you're feeling something deeper than this, and that's where you might say, I've been working on making boundaries. I've been working on taking care of myself, keeping it in the eye and explaining in those ways. Real important. I know for me, I've been on several committees in the past, some of which I was real excited to be on, and some which I went in thinking I think I took on too much. I needed to back away from those commitments. I've backed away from all of them right now. And the way I did it, which was suggested to me, was to say, I've really valued being a part of this. I love what we've done together, but I'm stepping back moving forward. That's it. You don't really need to explain more. So, couple things before we get to your homework, if you want to do some homework this week. So, remember, like all communication, your timing matters. If you're getting ready to say a no or a yes, don't say yes under pressure. And if you're thinking, I might be interested in this, maybe it's a let me check my schedule and I'll get back to you. It is always not just okay, but I would say it is always recommended in effective and responsible communication to pause to pause and take that temperature of where you're at. This goes to emotional intelligence that we've talked about before. You also want to watch your tone if it's going to be a boundary with a no. Calm, steady, try to stay neutral or kind, right? Try not to get defensive and try not to apologize and explain the no away and you're so sorry, right? Um, so your tone matters, the timing matters, and feeling guilty. You may still feel guilty, but really looking into that is important because one thing I've found with all communication is that just because I feel uncomfortable because I've communicated a certain way doesn't mean it wasn't the right thing for me to do or the right thing in that moment or the right thing in that relationship. So uncomfortability often leads to growth. Discomfort doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. Oftentimes, it means you're doing something new. And when you're doing something new, you're learning and growing. Here are some things to watch out for. And this may be some things to look at in the relationship. If you continually have people who guilt trip you when you set boundaries or say no, maybe you want to look at that relationship. If you continually have people who try to persuade you into a yes, maybe there's something to look at there. And if you continually have people who, beyond just you feeling a little guilty for the no, they frustrate you, right? They're frustrating to you because they don't seem to be hearing it. Gosh, I'm thinking of Mickey over and over. And remember, Mickey's a dog. Mickey will never understand English. So for Mickey, my behaviors have to show the no, just like yours can, with these people that may not seem to be getting it. And if they're not year-old Jack Russell Terriers, there's some other things you can do. Stay consistent. Don't over explain, just stay consistent and repeat the boundary. I hear this is important to you. I hear what you're saying. I'm still not able to do it. I'm still going to make it a no. I still need a quiet night. I'm still not able to take this on. You're responsible for your communication. You are never responsible for someone else's reaction. Say that again. You're responsible for being effective in your communication, being kind, being straightforward, being clear, but you are not responsible for the other person's reaction. So here's the takeaway. Saying no is not selfish. It's responsible. Your boundaries are internal, what works for you and what doesn't. Saying no is the external expression of that boundary. So over the next week, is there a no that you have been avoiding that you need to say? I want to encourage you to do it. Next week, we're going to shift gears a little bit and get into the workplace. We've been talking a lot about personal relationships, family relationships. Next week, we're going to take it to the workplace. In my thinking, I wanted to talk about personal and family first because I think workplace relationships, maybe they're not easier, but they're a little more straightforward. There's not as much emotion involved. And if there is, for you in workplace, we'll talk about that next week. So thanks for tuning in. I hope that you will set a boundary, and I hope you'll say no at some point this week. Thanks a lot. Take care.